Why would they plan a murder and get you to watch?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, son, why should we?
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're discussing the most foolish mistakes that led to a murderer's capture. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
This is a case about vulnerable young men then, isn't it, really?
Yeah, they just didn't want to know.
Stephen McCullagh.
There were emotional scenes and cheers in court today as Stephen McCullagh was found guilty of the murder of Natalie McNally in December 2022. It only took a few hours for the jury to convict the 36-year-old.
In December 2022, Natalie McNally was fatally stabbed by her boyfriend, Stephen McCullagh. To try to convince people he wasn't responsible, he pre-recorded a live stream and then played it while committing the crime.
I just realised I'm literally going to be drinking and driving.
Another lie.
In the game, by the way, I'm not leaving the house tonight.
The stream was morbidly titled Violent Nights, which featured him killing women in Grand Theft Auto. One mission he played was even called Waste the Wife.
Police had discovered the live stream wasn't live at all. Stephen McCullagh had recorded it 4 days before the killing, the false alibi he'd peddled to get away with murder.
Detectives figured out his plot using a combination of forensic analysis of his computer plus CCTV footage of him on the night and witness statements. After finding out it was pre-recorded, he changed his alibi, saying he was at home drinking and someone was trying to frame him. They didn't buy it and he was found guilty.
He showed absolutely no emotion or reaction. The public gallery, full of Natalie's family, erupted. It went from cheers to tears in minutes.
Levi Bellfield.
Victim's name is Amélie Martine Josette de Lagrange, 22 years old, born 2nd of February 1982.
While we have incredibly sophisticated forensic analysis techniques, sometimes killers are so careful they're useless. Between 2002 and 2004, Levi Bellfield murdered at least 3 people. One was Amélie Delagrange, but they found no strong evidence at the crime scene.
All on CCTV, Gov?
All on CCTV.
What are we looking for?
We don't know yet, but we know he's in a vehicle. That's all.
That was until they found images of the killer's white van on a bus's CCTV footage. It was low quality though, so they couldn't read the license plates, leaving them with over 26,000 possible vans to inspect.
If we secure every piece of CCTV on every conceivable route from Twickenham to Walton, then the killer's vehicle will be on it, Joe.
But we don't know what that vehicle is.
Eventually, they stumbled upon someone who sold a similar van to an unnamed man who had been constantly getting parking tickets. It turned out to be Bellfield, who was arrested and found guilty in 2008. If he had parked properly, he might still be active today.
Now, this white van appears sometime between 2200 and 2205. And by 2208, he's gone.
And that's, what, 100 yards from where Amélie was attacked?
70, I'd take her.
Donald Nielsen.
He wore all black, a black balaclava with just 2 eye holes.
He was ruthless. This man was public enemy number 1.
Also known as the Black Panther, our next criminal robbed 3 post offices in the early 70s. In 1975, he also tried to kidnap and ransom a teenage girl, but this plot failed, and the girl sadly died.
The Black Panther would stop at nothing to get what he wanted.
Up came the shotgun.
The gun was there.
A few months later, 2 police officers spotted Nielson with a hold-all bag.
We just pulled up alongside him. Tony wound the window down and said, "Good evening, sir. Sorry to bother you, but at this time of night, we like to check people to find out who they are, where they're going, where they've been."
They found this suspicious, approached him, and then he decided to pull out a shotgun and basically took them hostage.
What's in there, they said. Nothing. Let's have a look. Up came the shotgun, in their face.
This failed, and he was managed to be restrained after intervention from bystanders. Within a year, he was convicted and given a life sentence, then remained in prison until he died in 2011. If he'd complied with the police rather than pulling a gun on them, he may have remained free for longer.
When the jury came back with their verdict, there was an outburst of clapping. So everybody was very relieved that they'd got it right. And he was carted off for his life imprisonment.
Mark Bridger.
The verdict was unanimous, guilty. Mark Bridger will now spend the rest of his natural life behind bars for the abduction and murder of the schoolgirl April Jones.
In 2012, a Welsh child named April Jones was horrifically murdered by Mark Bridger. Within a day of her being reported missing, the culprit was arrested as he owned a vehicle that an eyewitness spotted Jones enter.
8 months on, the motif of a lost child remains painfully evident.
They never found her body. They searched the mountains, the disused quarries, the old mine shafts. They trawled the riverbeds. They even ventured out as far as the coast.
They found Jones's blood and bone fragments in Bridger's cottage, and to explain this, Bridger said he'd run Jones over by accident. Then he claimed to have drunkenly disposed of her body.
In a victim impact statement read out in court, April's mother, Coral, said, "I still cannot go into her bedroom to sort out her clothes because the pain of her not being there is indescribable."
It's pretty confusing what he thought he'd achieve with this defense, as it contradicted eyewitness statements, but it still implicated him. He was found guilty, given a life sentence, then, soon after the verdict, he told a prison chaplain where he'd actually left the body.
April will never come back to this community again, but saying that, she will never leave this community. For as long as this generation lives in Machynlleth, and when they move away, this little girl will be with them wherever they go.
Peter Tobin.
And you can see St Patrick's Roman Catholic Church just over there. And that was the scene in 2006 of probably one of the most brutal and disturbing murders that Glasgow has had.
This Scottish serial killer was first imprisoned for a decade after a despicable attack on 2 teenage girls in 1993.
The injuries on this young woman's body were such unimaginable.
After getting out, he murdered again, which prompted police to re-evaluate all the cases.
But in reality, Tobin was using the church to hide out following a sadistic crime.
This led them to investigate an old house of his in Southsea, which turned out to contain the remains of one of his earliest victims. There was also a dagger with his DNA on it, and loads more evidence to implicate him.
After murdering Vicky at his former home in Bathgate, Tobin had driven south with her body in his van.
He drove with her remains in his vehicle all 470 miles down sort of the length of the country here to Margate.
If he'd been more careful about hiding these things, it could have taken even longer to capture him. Tobin was given a life sentence and died in prison in 2022.
Found guilty on all counts, Peter Tobin was revealed as a serial killer.
Luke Mitchell.
After texting Luke the good news, she'd set off to meet him just before 5 that evening. She never returned.
In 2003, teenager Jodie Jones was dreadfully stabbed to death in Dalkeith by Luke Mitchell, her boyfriend. After she vanished, a search party was organised and Mitchell joined. Almost instantly, he went straight to the body and claimed to have only then discovered it.
Seldom has a defendant in Scotland been as vilified as Luke Mitchell, a child-in-law, before a trial. He quickly found a new girlfriend, according to the tabloids. He was banned from school and named as the prime suspect in a police report.
Everyone else was distressed, but he was suspiciously nonchalant. Additionally, a tree with the couple's initials carved into it was found nearby. He became the primary suspect and was found guilty in 2005, earning himself a life sentence in prison.
Did you kill Jodie Jones? No, I never. I wouldn't think of it.
I thought, well, you tell them. You tell them how you feel. And you tell them that you're innocent, because this might be the only chance you'll get.
Despite the results, Mitchell still claims he's innocent, which has unfortunately led to the victims' families being targets of a lot of cruelty, mainly from his supporters.
But worries within the legal and forensic world about Luke Mitchell's conviction have never completely gone away. particularly since he was tried and convicted without a shred of physical evidence against him.
Anthony Hardy.
Police spend hours trawling through all the CCTV footage in the area. Eventually, they spot a man dumping black bin liners in the same communal bins where the body parts were found.
Also known as the Camden Ripper, this killer wreaked havoc upon London in the early 2000s. He was infamous for dismembering his victims, which ultimately led to his capture.
Mr. Hardy's flat is bizarre and strange. The walls and the floors have paintings on them of footmarks and strange characters.
In December 2002, these remains were found dumped in a bin. They were discovered tied up in a bin bag by a homeless person.
When the police arrived, they discover a black rubbish bag containing human parts.
Leaving remains in a public bin has to be one of the least discreet ways to dispose of a body, which almost always leads to an arrest. A manhunt began, and it concluded after a week when he was found hiding behind a bin after collecting his insulin.
Hardy may have escaped prosecution, but while in custody, police ask for his mental health to be assessed. This leads to him being sectioned and detained in a secure hospital for treatment.
In court, he was found guilty of 3 murders, but some believe he could have been responsible for way more.
Hardy is convicted of 3 murders and sentenced to life in prison without parole. He died in Franklin High Security Prison in 2020 from COVID.
Wayne Couzens.
A serving Metropolitan Police officer has been arrested in Kent on suspicion of murder.
Wayne Couzens went on to kill Sarah Everard.
One of the most publicised cases from the 2020s so far was the murder of Sarah Everard. Police Constable Wayne Couzens kidnapped her in London, then drove her to Kent, where he brutally ended her life.
Just a few hours after he has murdered Sarah Everard, Wayne buys a hot chocolate with coconut milk and a Bakewell tart. This is strange behaviour because if you've just murdered someone, most people would have some form of remorse and actually feel physically sick.
He was caught a few days later, and the reason they got him was because of his distinctive rental car. It was captured twice on CCTV, and the pair were both visible alongside the number plates. Couzens also put little effort into covering his trail when disposing of her body, resulting in his arrest and then being given a life sentence for the crime.
I think the Sarah Everard case was so extreme that it got people thinking, how could a police officer be capable of doing that when they are trained to serve and protect the public?
Colin Pitchfork.
And police are keen to speak to anyone who saw Linda on the night she was murdered. The man leading the hunt, Detective Superintendent David Baker, has appealed to anyone who may have seen something to come forward.
Our next entry was historically significant for being the first person convicted using DNA profiling. Pitchfork murdered at least 2 girls in Leicestershire during the 80s. The crimes led police to take DNA samples from all men in the area.
All men aged between the ages of 18 and 34 have received a letter asking them to attend a screening.
If you declined, it aroused suspicion.
Could you tell me your whereabouts on the evening of the 21st November 1983 between 7 p.m. and midnight?
Bloody hell. I can't remember what I was doing last night, let alone last month.
So Pitchfork decided instead to ask a co-worker to give blood in his name, then paid him £200.
So when you're going in then? I'm not me. Them coppers stitch you up as soon as look at you.
You're not scared of a little prick, are you, Colin? It's only a few coppers and a needle.
Someone heard the co-worker bragging about it in the pub, and it came out that he was the second person Pitchfork asked. It was reported to the authorities, who promptly arrested him, and he admitted to his crimes soon after.
Police have revealed the identity of the man arrested yesterday for the double murders of 2 Leicestershire schoolgirls. Colin Pitchfork from Littlethorpe has undergone DNA testing and matches the samples left by the killer.
Jeremy Bamber.
At 24 years old, public school-educated Jeremy Bamber is accused of murdering his mother, father, sister, and his 2 nephews in a near-perfectly planned crime.
The White House Farm murders were an especially dire chapter of Essex history. An entire family was slaughtered in their home, with only one surviving member, their adopted son, Jeremy Bamber.
5 bodies in a farmhouse in the middle of Tolshunt Darty in Essex. in what can only be described as one of the most gruesome crime scenes in living memory.
At first, detectives thought the culprit was Sheila, one of the deceased, which Jeremy hoped would let him remain free.
I began to think that Jeremy not only had planned these things, but he'd also carried them out himself. And I became increasingly upset and nervous about things.
A massive mistake he made was calling the Chelmsford police station to report the crime rather than 999.
At the time, police believed Bamber's story.
They treated the scene of the crime very much as a homicide.
He also claimed his dad just rang him, worried about Sheila with a gun, a fact that was heavily disputed mainly because his father, who had been shot multiple times, wouldn't have been able to ring him. Bamber still insists he's innocent, but he was found guilty and given a life sentence.
Jeremy Bamber was found guilty of family annihilation on the 28th of October, 1986.
John Haigh.
He was a small-time crook. That's what police thought at first. A scheme seemed to lurk behind his quick smile and sharp suits.
You may know him better as the Acid Bath Murderer, a title that explains how he disposed of his victims' bodies. After killing at least 6 people between 1944 and 49, with his last victim being a wealthy widow, Haigh believed that if they couldn't find the body, he couldn't be charged.
You are saying that you have disposed of Mrs. Durand Deacon with acid?
Sulfuric acid, yes.
Police became suspicious of him on account of his prior criminal record. So they searched his property and arrested him. When being interrogated, he decided to confess to 9 murders because he thought the truth was too fantastic to believe.
Mrs. Durand Deacon no longer exists. She has disappeared. I have destroyed her with acid.
It turned out that it wasn't, and alongside this, pathologists found traces of dissolved remains outside his property, including gallstones. It led to him getting the death penalty in 1949.
But you can't prove anything. There's no body.
We don't need a body to prove murder.
Yes. You do.
Trust me, we don't.
Ian Huntley.
The search for Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman has tonight been extended to fields near their primary school.
Their disappearance sparked the biggest manhunt Britain had ever seen.
In 2002, 2 young girls lost their lives after school caretaker Ian Huntley kidnapped them. Huntley was given a 2-term life sentence in 2003, but nearly got away with it since his partner gave a false alibi.
Someone who was keen to help was a young man called Ian Huntley. He was the school caretaker and the boyfriend of the girl's favourite classroom assistant, Maxine Carr.
Police became suspicious of him because he was weirdly interested in the case. He kept asking them how it was going, inquired about how long DNA evidence lasts, plus he had a few slightly incriminating TV interviews.
The caretaker should have been suspect number 1. But what would haunt the police was the location they had based their investigations from.
Huntley also told an officer, "You think I've done it? I was the last person to see them." This made him a prime suspect, but if he'd kept his mouth shut and stayed out of the limelight, the police may have never cracked the case.
Justice Moses, the trial judge, has made it, and I'm hearing that Ian Huntley has been found guilty of count 1, the murder of Jessica Chapman. Ian Huntley has been found guilty of the murder of Jessica Chapman and the murder of Holly Wells, again by a majority verdict.
Robert Black.
I basically hoped that we were going to find out what actually happened to her and rule out once and for all that she wasn't alive somewhere. And if she was dead, find out where he'd put her and put her to a proper burial.
Between 1981 and 86, Black killed at least 4 young girls, which got him a life sentence. He targeted girls under 11 years old, but in 1988, he misjudged the age of a target. When he grabbed her and tried stealing her away, she fought back hard and managed to get away. She also wasn't alone, and her friend rushed to help her.
Take her somewhere quiet.
He then abducted another child in 1990, this time right in front of a man mowing his lawn, who gave his license plate straight to the police, and he was arrested in almost no time.
I've campaigned to try and see him. All I wanted to do was to talk to him and try and find out what he did with her.
Neville Heath.
Neville Heath went on to have a lot more fun as he began a career as a petty criminal. But time after time, his golden looks and charm helped win over the authorities.
Aliases are commonly used by killers to keep themselves hidden. Neville Heath is a perfect example of this, as he used a ton of different names to avoid detection.
Do you remember anything of what occurred in the room?
No.
Nothing at all?
I woke up and she was lying there. I don't remember anything else.
In 1946, he killed 2 women, but was caught after using an abysmal alias, if you can even call it that.
She met Neville Heath, probably impressed by this military bearing, and he put himself over as a lieutenant colonel.
Heath brought a woman with him to a hotel, then signed the room in his real name, except it was preceded by Lieutenant Colonel. This turned out not to work, leading him to be arrested and then charged with murder, earning him the death penalty.
Spooner charged Heath with the murder of Marjorie Gardner. There was still, though, no sign of Doreen.
The Moors murders.
You've come for those miniature wine bottles, eh?
You are.
Few British serial killers became as widely reviled as the Moors murderers Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. They committed their crimes between 1963 and 65. The pair got pretty excited about their atrocities, leading Hindley to invite her brother-in-law to a murder.
Has he got someone? Has he got the businessman? What's he like?
Come at the door when the lights flash.
He was disgusted by what he saw, leading him to vomit after coming home to his wife.
I mean, couldn't you have done something to stop the fight?
It wasn't a fight, Maureen, it was slaughter. If I'd have tried to stop him, they'd have done the same to me.
A few hours later, he called the police and told them what the pair had been up to.
What we're gonna do?
Well, go to the police. What else?
The pair were soon arrested and spent the rest of their lives behind bars. Hindley died in 2002 after trying to appeal her conviction multiple times. Brady survived until 2017, but he had never dreamed of being released and wanted to die a lot sooner.
He told me he'd killed before, but I didn't believe him. Maybe last night was to prove to me that he could kill.
And for you to do the same?
I didn't kill that lad.
John Christie.
You're Christie. John Reginald Christie. I shall have to take you into custody.
This case was majorly influential in the abolishment of the death penalty. During the 40s and the early 50s, Christie's home, 10 Rillington Place, became the site for at least 8 murders. He decided to hide these bodies around the flat in places like behind wallpaper, under the floorboards, and in the garden. Christie nearly got away with it after framing a neighbour, Timothy Evans, who was sadly given the death penalty.
Timothy John Evans, the court has found you guilty of willful murder, and the sentence of the court upon you is that you be taken from this place to a lawful prison, and thence to a place of execution.
In the end, his final blunder was illegally subletting his apartments. The landlord found them, kicked them out, then gave a neighbour permission to use Christie's kitchen. The neighbour ended up stumbling upon some corpses, and Christie was given the death penalty within a matter of weeks. Harold Shipman.
On the 7th of September 1998, Harold Shipman, a trusted family doctor from the small town of Haigh near Manchester, was arrested for the murder of one of his elderly patients.
One of Britain's most infamous serial killers was Harold Shipman, also known as the Angel of Death, who is believed to have killed hundreds between 1975 and 1998. He was a doctor who used his power to kill the elderly with lethal doses of medicine.
Within a matter of days, the police were overwhelmed as new victims emerged.
I think there was something like 3 or 4 on one street that had died. and that we went back to investigate his potential murders.
People eventually became suspicious of how many of his patients died. An investigation was launched, but it failed to find any wrongdoing.
And I'm sure you've had enough time to take a decent photograph.
Is it possible for you just to say anything at all?
Back into surgery to do my surgery.
But you have said you have nothing.
Anxious families demanded answers from the police.
His nefarious ways came crashing to a halt when his final victim's daughter became suspicious of the will her mother had left behind, which left most of her wealth to Shipman. Police were notified, then they discovered he owned the typewriter used to forge the will, and they finally realized the pattern, landing him a life sentence in 2000.
The trial lasted 57 days. Shipman was found guilty of 15 murders, including Kathleen Grundy and Winifred Mellor. The police knew Shipman was responsible for many more.
Peter Sutcliffe.
Peter Sutcliffe was the serial killer who seemed unstoppable.
For 5 years, he got away with it time and time again.
The Yorkshire Ripper despicably killed at least 13 people in Yorkshire and Manchester during the 70s. It led to an immense manhunt, with police questioning Sutcliffe 9 times, but failing to realise he was their killer.
It was at this point that the press would dub the murderer the Yorkshire Ripper, harking back to Britain's most notorious serial killer.
He was brought down not by a mistake in covering up a murder, but instead because he was spotted driving with false plates.
2 police officers came across a vehicle, 2 occupants in the vehicle, a man and a woman, and discovered that the number plates did not tally with the vehicle.
In custody, police realised he looked a lot like the descriptions of the Yorkshire Ripper. This led them to check where he was arrested, and it turned out he'd dumped a knife, hammer, and a rope there. Police asked him about them, and he confessed.
Sutcliffe knew he was caught, and it was then he said, "I know what you're leading up to. It's me, I'm the Ripper."
Joanna Dennehy.
Amazing.
Looks good.
Thanks, Matt. That must be so good. Real sexy.
The Peterborough Ditch murders were carried out by Joanna Dennehy in 2013. She wanted to kill 9 men, just like Bonnie and Clyde, claiming she found killing fun.
The last thing Lukasz Stawiszycki will have seen would have been the grinning face and demented eyes of his killer. He died almost immediately.
Her first 3 victims were targeted, and then she decided to pick 2 dog walkers to stab at random.
She wants to kill again.
And to kill again immediately.
Dennehy dumped one victim's remains in a bin, then, for some reason, decided to show the remains to a 14-year-old.
That's it. I want to kill somebody with a dog. That's what I'm going to do. And so she gets in a car and she's literally looking around for a person with a dog to kill.
It wasn't what led to her arrest. That happened after attacking the second dog walker, but it was a massive piece of evidence used against her. The judge did not hold back in the trial, calling her a cruel, calculating, selfish, and manipulative serial killer, then giving her a life sentence.
And so she calls over a teenage friend, lifts the top of the bin up and says, "Hey, look what I've done."
Dennis Nilsen.
It was horrific. It made the hair in the back of my neck stand up.
Between 1978 and 83, Nilson killed over 12 people, many of them young boys. He committed these crimes in his house in North London, where he would also dispose of their bodies.
I said, "Are we talking about 1 body or 2? And he just turned around and looked at me and he said, 15 or 16.
One of his disposal techniques was simply flushing the remains down the toilets. This led to major plumbing issues, so Nilson called someone to fix them.
In February 1983, an engineer from Dynarod, the drain cleaning company, come along to clear out some drains in Cranley Gardens. And when he arrived, he found what he thought were body parts.
The plumbing discovered human remains, and Nilson told him someone has been flushing down their Kentucky Fried Chicken. After further inspection, the police were informed, and Nilson became a prime suspect since the remains all came from his flat. Like most killers on this list, he got a life sentence for his disgraceful deeds.
He opened the door. There was this awful smell. we were quite aware of what it was. The smell of rotting flesh, human flesh.
Did you already know about these cases, or did you learn something new today? Let us know in those comments below.